So about the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been receiving emails from people who are actually about to move to Dominican Republic. And when I say they're actually about to move, I'm meaning these guys are on third base. They're coming home. So that means that they're about, 2 to 3 months away. They've already booked their flights. They already have everything set up, and they're on their way to Dominican Republic. And one of the common themes in these messages from these guys was, man, I'm getting a little nervous. I'm having some anxiety. I'm really a little scared. And so I was just thinking about it because, like I say, these guys have been planning this move for a long time now. And now it's coming down to the wire where they actually are seeing some things moving and shaking, and it's about to be a reality to them. And I just want to say this for people who are in this position, whether you reached out to me or not, because there are many people who are still moving here, and not just moving here, moving to another country, and they're in this weird place of doubt as they prepare for this move. So I want to tell you guys that emotions like this are typical. I mean, listen, you're moving to another country. There are going to be culture adjustments. There's going to be language barriers. There are going to be social differences that you're going to be faced with, so it's understandable. And trust me, I was feeling the same thing, and you guys know how I feel about Dominican Republic, how I feel about living here, but still, I had some of these same emotions. I was nervous, I was scared. So let me tell you a little bit about my process and the way it typically works. Well, I'll tell you the way it worked for me, and I'm assuming that it worked the same way with these guys. So when we decided to move here, we planned it 7 months in advance in terms of when we were going to leave. Not that we planned to move 7 months in advance. We had planned to move for 5 years. When we arrived back in Fort Lauderdale in 2016, our plan was to get back here to Dominican Republic. But of course, we had to work everything out, get our finances right, so forth and so on. And once we had our plan together and we were ready to leave, we planned it 7 months in advance. And I'm just gonna tell you how it worked out for us. So at the time, we were staying in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Pompano Beach, Florida. And this was around August where we had to renew our lease. So we had to decide whether we were gonna renew for 13 months or either 7 months. And so we decided, you know what, let's just do 7 months so we can just go ahead and get this thing on out the way. And so that's how we came up with the 7 months in advance. And another thing that kind of pushed us to say, hey, we're gonna do this and we're not gonna look back, is we downgraded from that 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment to a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. And also within that move, we were saving like $400 or $500 a month. So if you do the math, $400 or $500 a month for 7 months is like $2,800 or $3,500, whichever one, and I can't remember what the numbers were. And so we figured, if we downgrade to this 1-bedroom, we definitely getting up out of here, or we're gonna have to, go back and ask them for a 2-bedroom after the 7 months is up, if we decide not to leave. And of course, I didn't even want to downgrade to that 1-bedroom. That means our daughter was sleeping with us. I don't want my daughter to sleep with us. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, we downgraded to the 1-bedroom, and we did this for 7 months. And typically, depending on how far in advance you decide to leave, you typically don't really feel anything besides excitement. Because for me, it was like, oh man, I know we about to move. We're in this 1-bedroom, so I know it's about to happen. Then I went online, I booked our tickets 7 months in advance. So at that time, I'm feeling excitement. You know what I'm saying? I'm really feeling excitement, like this really gonna happen. Fast forward to around the 5th, 6th, 7th month is when things really start to get real. Because at this point, you have to start making decisions. Because you're not gonna start selling your things, at least for us, 7 months out. It didn't start getting really real to us, at least to me, until around, man, these flies out here, man. It just finished raining, and I hate to come out here when it's finished raining. These flies just fly around. So anyway, around that 5th, 6th, 7th month, especially when you got 2 months to go before you leave, it really starts to get real, because this is when you start to sell off your things. And this is when I started to get nervous I started, I wouldn't say having anxiety. I don't think I have anxiety, but I started to get nervous, a little scared. And I remember the first thing that we sold was my car. We had two cars. I had a 2000, I think it was 2008 Honda. It was a piece of junk anyway, so I really, even me selling that, it really didn't matter, but because I was feeling like I was gonna have to get a new car anyway if I stayed in Florida. But anyway, that was the first thing to go. And I remember when I first sold it, I would walk out to the parking lot and I knew what my parking space was and I wouldn't see my car. And I was like, man, this is weird. You know what I'm saying? My car is not here anymore. Then the next thing to go was our couch. And we sold this probably about a month and a half out, because when we started putting it on Facebook Marketplace, things started to sell. We didn't think that it was some of that stuff was gonna sell that fast, but it ended up selling pretty quickly. And so probably about a month and a half out, they came and got our couch. And so at this point, you know, we both were still working. Well, we wasn't working, we were doing like Instacart and things like that. But when we come home, our couch wasn't there, so we was we was either sitting on the floor or sitting at our kitchen table, or a kitchen bar with our bar stools, or either in our room in the bed. But it just was it was weird to walk in the house and your couch is gone. And then after that, the coffee tables, the end tables left. And the next thing we sold was our bed. We had a California king bed. Man, I love that bed. I really hate to see it go. I wish I could have shipped it over here, but it just costs way too much. The fun thing with this is that the people who bought the bed, they didn't even want the mattress. They wanted the bed frame. And beggars can't be choosy, so we end up selling the bed frame. So next, after we sold the bed frame, we'll be sleeping on the mattress on the floor. Then after that, a few days after that, somebody comes and get the mattress. So at this point, we have no couch, we have no bed, and we have no living room furniture. And I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, we're leaving. This is getting serious. When it really, really hit me, well, it had already hit me. I knew we were going, but when it was really, really real is when we shipped my wife's car. And they wanted us to ship that baby about 2 weeks before we left. And I was like, nah, we can't do 2 weeks before we left. I mean, we need a car. So anyway, we ended up shipping a car maybe about 3 days before we left. And man, when we drove down there and went to the port in Fort Lauderdale and we handed over our car, I remember driving back and I was like, man, this is really happening. Because when we went back in an Uber. And I'm like, this is happening. And then when we get home, of course I already knew it wasn't nothing in the house. You get home and you walk in and it's like a bunch of boxes everywhere. Again, like I say, no furniture. We had pretty much sold everything. And again, I was feeling nervous. I was feeling scared because I didn't know exactly how all of this was gonna turn out. I knew how I wanted it to turn out, but I didn't know how it was gonna turn out. But needless to say, I was still excited because I was actually living the life that I had planned in my head for the last 5 years. And that's what's so surreal about it, is because you planned it in your head, you saw it out, and then once it starts happening, it's almost like you get nervous. It's like, why are you nervous? This is what you wanted. So that was the type of feeling that I had. I had a feeling of nervousness, but I also had a feeling of excitement because it was exactly what I wanted to do. And that was my experience as I started to leave. Now, my wife may feel a little bit different because, of course, she's Dominican. She's coming home. You know, I wasn't coming home. I was leaving home and coming somewhere to make my home. So that was my experience and how I felt. So when I was reading these emails, I understood what these guys were saying. And I responded in kind to let them know that, hey, listen, I know exactly what you're saying, but remember, you planned this out. I had been talking to these guys for months to know what their plans were, and that they had pretty much had everything set up like they should have had set up, meaning their finances, their accommodations, everything was set up. So my advice to them was, hey man, you just got to pull the trigger now. I understand you feeling that way, but at this very moment, you're gonna have to push past it. And the only thing they was experiencing at this time, even myself when I was going through it, was just self-doubt. It was all an illusion that your mind was saying, hey, what if this doesn't work out? Which is normal. It's okay to feel that way. But everything was pointing in the right direction of saying, hey, this is a great move for you, your mental health, your finances, your family, whatever it is. It was all pointing to the right direction. It was just the self-doubt was overpowering what we was actually feeling was the right thing for us to do. So yes, you're gonna feel some excitement. Yes, you're gonna feel some joy. But once it's time to move, you are gonna feel some doubt, and you just gotta push through it. And I attribute these emotions that come across us as entering the unknown. Because I told you guys before, living here and visiting here are two different things. When you start to think about everything you built in your homeland, everything you're familiar with, and then you're all of a sudden, and I know I'm using all of a sudden loosely because you don't all of a sudden do it most of the time, you're planning it, but it seems like all of a sudden you're just packing your stuff up and you're leaving everything that you're familiar with to go to something that you're not familiar with. And I've said this before, being an expat isn't easy. It's not easy to just pick up and move somewhere else and start all over again. That's not easy. That's scary. And I'll say this lastly. If you planned accordingly, you've tied up all your loose ends, your finances are straight, and you know in your heart of hearts that you're doing the right thing, having some self-doubt is going to be normal. But I'm here to tell you, push past it. I felt the same way. And 3 years later, I consider this place home. I would say this has been one of my better decisions that I've made in recent years for me and my family. And you can look at it this way also. If it doesn't work, just go back. That's it. That's my advice. So until then, remember, always keep your goals at the forefront of your mind. Always live in the present, because that's the only way you're going to live your best life. And I'm out. Peace.
Je boog wat aan mijn best life, yeah. Je boog wat aan mijn best life, yeah. Something you and me, oh. Je boog wat aan mijn best life, yeah. Jumping, flexing, I know.